Notification for the RBI Grade B DEPR 2025 has been now finally announced, and after a lot of confusion or suspense whether there will be exam or no exam, now we have a clarity about the date of the exam as well as about the vacancy, because there was a lot of confusion regarding that. Now related to that, I am discussing in this video how to approach the phase 1 exam and phase 2 exam, and how to incorporate your test series, what will be the cutoff for the exam generally for last 2 years, for phase 1, for phase 2, what should be your targeted score for phase 1, phase 2. So all things I will be basically discussing in this video, and we are starting with the fast track course from 10th of September. So we will try to have more and more lecture in the form of live as well as some pre-recorded, so that we can cover all the content without compromising the content. We can cover within the time. So the first thing about this notification is that your phase 1 exam is on 19th of October and phase 2 exam is on 7th of December. Phase 1 19th October, phase 2 7th December. So between phase 1 and phase 2 you have about 48 days, and for phase 1 exam you have about 40 days. So 41 days is basically available for phase 1, and for phase 2 you have about 48 days. That means in total, if we consider, in total you can consider about 88 days is there, almost 3 months we can say, which is not that we can say plenty of time, but good enough to cover the content for the RBI DPR. So this is the notification for this year. Number of seats you can say, vacancy you can say is 17 for the RBI DPR, and the dates are 19th of October and 7th of December. So it is not that much clear. So we have written that date for phase 1 and phase 2 exam. Now this fast track course, which is starting from 10th of September. See, the number of days I said left for phase 1 exam is about 40 days. So you have 40 days for phase 1 and 48 days for phase 2. Over number of, if you say that the overall preparation for phase 1 and phase 2 will be having about 200 to 250 number of lecture, but your initial focus should be on phase 1. Now in phase 1 you can cover it in a shorter period of time, because the nature of a question is a MCQ, it is objective, and you have to take care of that English paper. So the content I can say for the phase 1, because the syllabus for phase 1 and phase 2 is written same. If you see the content for micro or for macro or for maths, stats section or Indian economy, the syllabus is for phase 1 and phase 2 is exactly same. You can see this in phase 1 the syllabus of paper 1 says that microeconomics include consumer demand, production, market structure, distribution, welfare for phase 1. And similarly, if you see the phase 2 exam, for phase 2 exam also in microeconomics it is consumer theory, production, market structure, distribution, welfare. So the content is basically, we can say syllabus is same for phase 1 and phase 2. The nature of question will be different. Phase 1 will be objective based MCQ, phase 2 is descriptive question. I will show some examples of the descriptive question, that memory based question that we have. And phase 1, now the generally what happens that if they are asking some questions in phase 1, like in phase 1 market structure is dominating or consumer demand is dominating, or in phase 1 let us say international economics is there, they will be asking in phase 2 from the different topic. Like if they ask from the solo model numerical question in phase 1, so generally they will avoid same topic question in phase 2. That means they try to have different set of question for phase 1 and phase 2, because syllabus to same hai. But if you have asked on particular topic in phase 1, generally that topic will be missed in phase 2, because that is a descriptive question, a long term question. Now coming back to this schedule part, so 88 days in total is available. Now For phase 1 we have specifically 50 odd lecture, specifically focus on the MCQ part. I am saying, I am not saying that the complete phase 1 is done in phase 50 lecture, but that objective based lecture, we can say the MCQ based lecture, that will be 50. So you can cover that 50 lecture in about a month time. So good enough, you have that much of time. Or if you see it on all regular basis, if you can see 2 lecture, then 25 days mein ho jayega. So we already started with an fast track course in the month of I think July, anticipating that notification will come in the month of July and examination will be happening in September and then in the month of November. But since now notification has come in the month of September itself and the examination is on 19th, so we are basically restarting that part. So we already have that recorded lecture, we can say, some that will be provided to you and some the remaining part you can see that lecture live as well. Related to the phase 2, because content in phase 2 is basically more. So phase 2 is about 200 lecture descriptive for micro, for macro, for international, growth and development, then for maths, stats, econometrics and Indian economy. So if I say that 88 days is there and if you can allocate 2 lecture or more than 2 lecture, then I think 200 plus number of lecture is doable, वो possible है in terms of preparing the content if you have not prepared the content. So if you are still, if we can say that if you are starting today, still there is a space to cover all the lecture plus the test series. Now in phase 1 what you have to cover here, which is basically the MCQ question, since past year question available नहीं होते हैं, memory based question you have some idea कि ये question इस area से पूछे गए, and in the last 2 year the nature of question has shifted mainly from mathematical to the fact based question and Indian economy weightage has increased. So you have to be careful about the factual information about the Indian economy related to the public finance, related to the monetary management, related to the RBI monetary policy committee, instruments of the monetary policy, factual information important हो गया. Then since the mathematical question is less in phase 1 now, phase 1 के अंदर वो कम हो गया, that means now it will take less time to attempt more question. ठीक है, you can attempt more and more question here in phase 1. Phase 1 structure is that there will be 2 sections. 30 marks question will be 30 question will be for 1 marker and 35 question is basically for 2 marker. I repeat, 30 question for 1 marker and 35 question for 2 marker. That means in total 65 number of question is there in phase 1 and with a negative marking obviously. So phase 1 is basically that economics paper of 100 and English paper of 100. Now just come to this part, that means what was the cutoff. I will come to the test series part after that. The cutoff for 2023 and 24 you can just see. This is basically a high scoring exam, I will say. High scoring in the sense the final cutoff is about 68-67%. So very high cutoff for, given that phase 1 is negative also. So in phase 1 2023 the cutoff was 112, in 2024 it was 121.5. So slight increase we can say of 9 marks. So about 60% we can say is the cutoff for phase 1. Past के trend को अगर आप follow करें, but if you are just meeting that cutoff, ये general category के लिए cutoff लिखा हुआ है. If you are just meeting that cutoff, then you need to score almost, I will say, about 148-150 marks to qualify for the interview. Because suppose you have only 121.5 marks, then you need to score about 148, I guess, 148. That means almost 75%, which is very difficult to achieve in phase 2, given that the nature is descriptive. And after that the final cutoff, that means the cutoff usually you can see 60%, then 65%, and then 68%. So it goes on to increasing. So you need to score more in phase 1. Repeat, you need to score more in phase 1 and you can do so because the nature of question is such. In 2023 it was 112, 254 and 322. So see this 121 is out of 200. This phase 2 is out of 400 and final is out of 475. ठीक है, 75 मार्क्स का इंटरव्यू होता है. So phase 1 200, that you have to qualify and that marks will be counted also. So you need to maximize it also. Phase 1 and phase 2 combined, that will determine the merit for the interview. So the cutoff of about 67-68% is there. Generally in RBI you get more score as compared to Indian Economic Service or Civil Service. Board different है, exam मतलब marking scheme different है, and you get a lot of direct question also. I will show some example of this. So cutoff is I think clear. Now how much you need to target in order to qualify? The targeted score should be for phase 1 140 to 150, that range of 10 marks I am giving. 140 to 150, that means 70 to 75%. 70 to 75% for phase 1. That means in economics paper you need to score I think above 70 or 75, given that second paper is English. So about 140 to 150, that means cutoff was 121, at least 20-25 marks above the cutoff. Clear? Phase 2 about 130 to 140, because phase 2 is descriptive, so slightly marks will dip here. 130 to 140, and interview they have a tendency to give more marks. Out of 75, 50 to 60. 60 will be a very good score I can say, but 50 will be basically an you can say the average, because the cutoff अगर 68% पे जा रहा है तो naturally interview में they will be giving about that much percentage of marks. So a score of 320 to 350, that means if you take just the average of these two, 335. 335 is enough to qualify. ठीक है, because cutoff last year 322, earlier it was 24 में it was 327. So if you aim about 335, ठीक है, that there can be some variations in phase 1 and phase 2, but ideally I will suggest you should be aiming for this purpose. But scoring 75 and plus in phase 1 objective, given that there is a negative marking, is not that much easy. Although the format is easy, but scoring finally is a little difficult there. So what is needed for phase 1 is that you have to practice a lot of MCQ. वो MCQ आपके पास अलग अलग जो sources available हो सकते हैं. That means apart from what we will be providing to you, and what we have basically referred from the different sources, like in micro you can refer for the whole variant workbook also, Nicholson and Snyder, Rubinfeld and Pendick, but ultimately come down to the question. And when you come down to the objective question, then what are the different sources from which you can get the objective question? So one is the UGC net, because last 2 years से अगर factual question है वो ज़्यादा question net की तरफ similar हो जाता है, तो just 5-7 year के last 5-7 year के objective question UGC net वाले cover कर लेने. Second source is IIT JAM economics का paper है, तो you get a good quality question I will say in that section. GATE का paper है, वहाँ भी अच्छे क्वेश्चन आपको न्यूमेरिकल वाले मिल जाएंगे. सो यू नीड टू प्रैक्टिस न्यूमेरिकल ऑफ माइक्रो प्लस मैथमेटिकल क्वेश्चन प्लस द इंडियन इकोनॉमिक क्वेश्चन. क्लियर? या CUT के इंटर्न्स जो PG लेवल के होते हैं वहाँ भी ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चन है, यू कैन रेफर टू दैट क्वेश्चन एज वेल. सो देर आर सर्टेन सोर्सेज. बाई रेफरिंग टू दो सोर्सेज वी हैव prepared basically a list of problem set for phase 1, and that problem set is basically discussed in that 50 number of lecture. So if you just focus on that and attempt the test here, I think that will be enough for phase 1. Now come to the test series part. So test series has in total 13 tests, 7 for phase 1 and 6 for phase 2. Out of 7, 5 is for economics and 2 is for English. 5 पेपर सब टेस्ट इकोनॉमिक्स के है, 2 for English, and this phase 2 6 tests. So you have 2 paper here, both paper will have 3 tests each, both paper will have 3 tests each. Clear? So some tests already uploaded there, phase 2 के लिए अभी होने, remaining it will be uploaded after phase 1 exam. So you can attempt phase 1 test. So some tests already uploaded, some will be uploaded basically now. So this is the included in your fast track course. Apart from that, just see the memory based question of last year, I guess, or last to last year. Paper 1, like section A, given demand function and cost function, find out monopolist profit maximizing output, what would change if it set the price. So given demand function was given, cost function was given, you have to calculate the profit maximizing quantity. Does there exist supply curve for the monopolist? So you know that monopolists do not have a supply curve. Discuss the idea behind Marxian distribution theory and compare with the Ricardo. So distribution may we have limited number of theories. Marginal productivity theory, then Ricardian model, then Kaldor model, then Kalasky model, and related to that there will be a question, but it is descriptive. Then given this demand function, we have to separate substitution effect, income effect. ये question exactly variant में chapter में illustration में given है, same example, same numerical number, nothing different, बिल्कुल same question है. इस तरह के जब क्वेश्चन मिल जाते हैं exactly लिख दोगे तो naturally you will get more, that means maximum मिलने चाहिए, but suppose अगर वो 15 मार्क का क्वेश्चन, you can score 12, 13, 14, maybe 15. So that is why the cutoff in RBI is basically greater, because you get this type of question. What would happen to the price of a monopolist if for constant MC and given demand function unit tax is imposed? तो unit tax impose किया तो condition बन जाएगा MR equal to MC plus T. Then section B, that is a macro section, Taylor rule, implication and relevance of inflation targeting and their objective. So design of monetary policy is basically there, which covers nominal money growth targeting, inflation targeting, and the interest rate targeting explained by the Taylor rule. So you will have a very detailed answer to this type of question. Point से पे कि वो आपने multiple times अगर लिखा हुआ है, learn कर रखा है, then you can write it there. Ability to pay and benefit to pay, compare the merit and demerit. So this is approaches to the tax equity from public finance. Transmission mechanism and the information something. How much monetary transmission to be impacted due to digitization and the financial technology. Ricardian equivalence का question था. So there was some question from this part and some new question also you can see in the econometrics section particularly. Difference between the Bayesian and the frequentist approach and some subset about the Bayesian. One new question was completely new, you can say most of the students were unable to solve it, was Box-Jenkins methodology for the inflation targeting using ARIMA 1. Now these type of question can be there, I am saying. 1 or 2 question you will be getting, but you have the option to attempt other question. It is not a compulsory question. So you have the option to attempt the other question, but that limit the choice. आपके choices कम हो जाते because इस टाइप के question obviously rule out हो गए. Given that marginal cost and marginal revenue, find out total cost and the profit function. Indian economy के question some you can see the sample. RBI policies to aid growth and financial stability post pandemic. Fiscal multiplier, what are they and their relevance? Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, IBC 2016, their genesis, provisions, success and challenges. Some net zero emission report 2025. So some questions you can see in this. Other year के question अगर आप देखें, explain the consumer equilibrium through indifference curve analysis. आप कहोगे this is a very generic question, very direct question. Indifference curve approach से आपको consumer equilibrium explain करना है. So you will say that okay, consumer will be in equilibrium when budget line is tangent on the indifference curve. So when budget line is tangent on the indifference curve, then MRS is equal to price ratio. So that will be explaining the consumer equilibrium, but you need to score here. See, the weightage is about 20 marks. So you need to elaborate. Elaboration is if MRS is not equal to price ratio, that one what will happen? Is tangency always necessary for optimal choice? The answer is no. Tangency is not necessary if goods are perfect substitute. It is not necessary if goods are perfect complement. It is not necessary if preference function is concave. It is not necessary if the preference function is of maximum. So you need to elaborate it, consumer equilibrium. And then what happens to the equilibrium when income and price changes? That is income consumption curve or price consumption curve add karna. So although question will appear to you a direct question and easy, but to score in it you need to write a quality answer. Similarly, explain producer equilibrium using the iso quant and iso cost line. बैक टू बैक आप सिमिलर क्वेश्चन देख रहे हैं. एक्सप्लेन एरोज इम्पॉसिबिलिटी थ्योरम कमिंग फ्रॉम द वेलफेयर सेक्शन. शॉर्ट रन एंड लॉन्ग रन इक्विलिब्रियम ऑफ द मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन. यूजिंग AS and AD, explain how and why Keynesian AS differs from the classical AS, from the macroeconomics. So I have just given you some sample of this paper of phase 2. ठीक है, तो आपको क्वेश्चन देखते you will get an idea कि it is not a time taking, we can say, as far as question is concerned, that makes this exam easier. Number of question limited है, paper का structure ऐसा है कि even if you are not covering the complete syllabus, still you can attempt all the questions. The set of question is basically in that format. Clear? So syllabus I have already discussed. This question paper. Now one more thing that I want to explain here is that in this batch for phase 1 and phase 2, what we will be giving you for phase 2 particularly is additional a daily answer writing program, which we call it a markup. Actually this course is designed for civil service economics optional and Indian economic service paper, but you can use it because content for economic service and RBI is same. So a daily answer writing program, although it is not feasible for you in that 48 days to write all, but you can attempt many. So we'll be giving you some markup question, daily 5 question. Along with that you will get the model answer and it will be discussed also. So that will basically help in learning the notes, and that will also improve your performance in the test. Your test of regular descriptive लिखेंगे, it will improve your performance. This will help in learning the notes. So a daily answer writing program, we can, I think in that 48 days we can cover about 50 or 60 number of days, we can say. So that means about 300 question, but that number of question will be good enough to cover it. Clear? So at the end again I repeat this, your examination is scheduled for 19th for phase 1 and 7th December is phase 2. You have approximately 40 days for phase 1 exam and 48 days after that for phase 2. So about 3 month time is there. 50 lectures for phase 1 exclusively, that is based upon MCQ, and for phase 2 more than 200 lecture. And score cutoff का explanation हो गया, that means 68-67% you need to score finally. And your target should be for phase 1 about 140 to 150, phase 2 130 to 140, interview about 50 to 60. And the test series has 7 tests for phase 1 and 6 for phase 2. Clear? So I think I have explained all what is needed for preparing for phase 1 and phase 2. So I hope this will help you to prepare for phase 1 and phase 2 examination. And if you devote exclusively, I will say 3 months, next 3 months, then you have a good chance, because 17 vacancies means about 40 plus 40 to 50 candidates will be called for the interview, given that economic service may be just 12 seats there and they called only 27 candidates for the interview. So more candidates naturally will be called in the RBI, so about 40 to 50. So first qualify in phase 1, maximize in phase 1, and then do better in phase 2 also. That means gradually your performance must improve in from phase 1 to phase 2 and then to interview. Clear? So I think I have explained all, and this video will help you to prepare for this examination in a better way. Thank you.